On this channel I like to share with you stories of secret radio and antenna systems and radio tales relating to law enforcement, the military and the Secret Service, and today is no different. In fact, I'm hoping you can help me piece together the rest of the picture I'm about to paint for you. I've been researching and collating a special set of HF frequencies between 4.6 and 15.7 MHz. There's 17 of them in total, and they were all used up until the early 1990s by Interpol. Interpol is an international organisation that facilitates worldwide police cooperation and crime control, to put it simply. Back in 1935, Interpol launched its own dedicated radio network for the sharing of police information. It allowed the exchange of information, descriptions and wanted notices, and as the years went on, photographs and fingerprints. The network was only used by criminal police authorities, and it allowed Interpol's member countries to become even more connected and improve the communication between those different countries. Back in 1937, a time where anyone could hear the Metropolitan Police on CW, a new police wireless station opened at West Wickham in the borough of Bromley. A CW operator sat next to the police car or van driver with a Morse key, and he would send coded messages to Scotland Yard such as X231 Marble Arch to Oxford Circus, which of course didn't take much work to decipher. The frequency was around 2 megacycles as it was known back then. Anyway, the ground transmitter was known as GWW at West Wickham, and it was this transmitter that later became Interpol's link with France and other continental countries who were still using Morse and equally obvious X call signs well into the 1980s. By the early 1980s, member countries communicated to Interpol and to one another through telex, Morse code and HF radio. Interpol also developed its own coded language for radio transmissions. They developed certain code words so they could use one word such as alone and it would translate as a phrase such as please allow an officer to arrest this man. Another was backle or barkle, which was used to describe a person in detention. It means he's been placed in detention awaiting trial. Nobody other than Interpol could decipher information in the later years of the radio service. The contents of the messages it carried were of course top secret. Imagine conducting a multinational raid on a drugs gang, human trafficking ring or criminal organisation, only to have them listening in. These frequencies were logged in the late 1980s and all originated from the transmitting station at West Wickham. Interpol used the call sign GMP from the UK and operated a mode known as ARQ or Automatic Repeat Request. Also known as Automatic Repeat Query, ARQ is an error control method for data transmission that uses acknowledgements and timeouts. Acknowledgements are messages sent by the receiver indicating that it's correctly received a packet, and timeouts are specific periods of time allowed to elapse before an acknowledgement is to be received. This mode ensures a reliable data transmission over an unreliable communication channel. If the sender doesn't receive an acknowledgement before the timeout, it retransmits the packet until it receives an acknowledgement or exceeds a predefined number of retransmissions. Now, this was really handy for Interpol because the radio system it used was HF. Conditions on the HF bands can be challenging, especially in emergency situations, so the ARQ systems were ideal. I can't find any information on the central station and the regional stations in the Interpol Telecommunications network. I do know there was a central station and regional stations, but their whereabouts is a mystery. Were there central and regional stations in each country, or was Interpol's headquarters the central station and West Wickham and others all regionals? By 1985, Interpol was looking at modernisation of the communication system, and in 1991 it was decided that the system was outdated and would be decommissioned to make place for a newer service. Interpol began the design of a global telecommunications network in the early 1990s, and in 1994 they began rolling it out to the world. It consisted of an X400 network running over X25 lines, and the rollout was finished by the millennium. The problem was that only 1/4 of the countries could afford the equipment and the line, so Interpol raised money from its richer members and from other organisations such as the United Nations to fund the lease lines, install the equipment and provide training in 130 of its 150 member countries. Today, the police wireless station at West Wickham is the Metropolitan Police's service dog training establishment, and although it doesn't quite look as glamorous as the pictures I showed you earlier, it's great to see such a historic building being put to use. The radio towers have long since been pulled down, although there does appear to be the remains of the enclosure that surrounded one of them. I hope you enjoyed this disjointed tale from the secret world of radio, and if you can fill in any of the gaps, then feel free to do so. If you know any more about the transmitting stations, ever listened to anything on these frequencies or other nations' Interpol frequencies, then please let me know so we can piece the rest of the jigsaw together.